Hey guys, Dark Swordsman here, and today I'm going to be installing an oil cooler. Here I have the Flying Miata oil cooler kit. I bought it secondhand from a guy I know. He's on Instagram, and his name is Eddie Belask. I got it for a good deal. So I got the oil cooler, the lines, the adapter, and then there's a spacer, which I don't know if I need, but we'll find out when we're down there. But the only thing it didn't come with is brackets, which when he took it off the car that he had was zip tied in for some reason. So this starts off like any other oil change, you drain your oil, whatever. And that's pretty much it. We'll get into it, and here we go. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove the splash pan, which is just a bunch of 10mm bolts all around. And then after that, we can drain the oil. It's always good to drain your oil when it's hot, but it burns like hell sometimes. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove these bolts. So one thing that I heard plenty of is that this little brace right here for the intake, taking it off does nothing and it's completely pointless. The other thing is that it's in the way of the oil filter and everything, and it needs to be taken out really in order to do this job. Alright, now that the intake brace is off, we have great access to get to the oil filter, which is where we're going to be mounting the adapter for the oil cooler. So, it's been a long few hour or so, but at first, I don't know if you could see that right there. That is supposed to go down, but there's a piece I'm missing, which is a new thread for the oil filter, and that's not working. Like, it won't fit. So what I'm currently attempting to do, and it might work if I can get it threaded on there correctly and get it routed correctly, but I have the hose, hoses. The hoses are aimed this way, trying to thread the short one on to go through where the belts go, where the alternator goes, which technically would be unsafe or whatever, but if I can route it correctly, it should work. And then the other one has a lot more space, so I can just route it back behind, or I can go up through as well with the other one. I was able to get the lines in most of the way. So they're in and the screw is on. It's a little bit difficult to get the screw on, so I'm going to order this in a minute to grab a 1-inch socket to be able to screw that on all the way, since I've been using just a crescent wrench. And then over here, there's a line going down through that's the line that's going down through the belts. All the way down there. You can see the radiator. There's one other line coming around from the left side right there too. So all I need to do right now is start to mess around with making a bracket, and if it comes to it and I get everything else done and the bracket just doesn't work, then I'll just try to zip tie it or something. So yeah. So I just tried making a bracket and it completely failed. I don't have any tools to do it, and I also probably didn't buy the right material to do it, so I'm going to try to zip tie it on. I also got a 1-inch socket, so that way I could get the screw for the adapter on all the way. It's fine, like I got all the hoses tightened down really tight. Not too tight, whatever, but got them tightened down, and now I just need to get it on because it's a little bit tighter. So now that, since I'm not going to use a bracket because I just don't have the tools for it, I'm going to put the bolts back in for the power steering, and then I'm just going to sit here and try to zip tie this up so that way it's out of the way of everything and that it fits well. So the main thing I have to worry about here is all the belts, and like really the belts. And if I want to put it up here, like around here, I also have to watch out for the harmonic balancer since it's kind of in the way. I think what I'm going to do is there are some rubber pieces of rubber hose that came with it that were there to protect this, or also protect anything else around it, along with heat. So I might use those, and I'm also just gonna probably zip tie it to the AC lines here, and yeah. So we finished up the install and it runs great. So obviously the install didn't work. It worked for a good 5 minutes. I started the car, the oil pressures were fine, everything was fine, everything was nice and good. And then I drove for a little bit, and then the oil pressure started to drop a little bit. And I kind of wasn't surprised that it was dropping a little bit, but by the time the car fully warmed up, I was getting about 3 psi on idle, and I was getting about 15 psi on about 4,000 RPM, which is absolutely terrible. It should not be that. So I don't think this is really anything to do with the hardware itself, like anything wrong with it. It's just the fact that I installed it definitely wrong. Like there already was a little bit of a leak, which was starting to go away, but even then, like I shouldn't have run it with the leak. It like as far as I know, there's like no damage or whatever to the engine. There's still oil circulating through it. So, but I think the main issue was because I ran it up and there were a bunch of sharp turns and it was very tight, and I didn't run it the way it was supposed to be, which was down and just let the oil lines hang down and just kind of go to the location of where it's supposed to be, meaning like a smooth curve down instead of like a sharp down, then like a left, and then like the angle. So the angles that are on there, the little angle joints, are meant to be like that, like for a reason, but they're designed a certain way to allow the oil to fuel without a lot of pressure build up behind it. So it's just a multitude of it being installed the wrong way. So I've learned my lesson to not, unless I have the skills to fabricate something that I know will work, or if I have all the tools and instructions and materials to do something correctly, to just not do it. I mean, unless it's like small things, like maybe I installed a tow hook, which I liked for like a week, but then I got tired of it. I didn't want it, so I still have it. I'm trying to sell it, but it was just 4 bolts. I looked it up online, got the hardware, like it was easy, like something like that. But when you're messing with the engine or anything that's like critical, I mean, I've messed with the engine plenty of times. Like I've taken the head off because of stuck spark plugs, but at the time I was doing a lot of research. I needed to have it done. I didn't do it in one day. I did it over 4 days. I took my time with a friend, and then like I replaced the valve cover gasket and a few other miscellaneous things. Like changing the oil is like easy, but if you're modifying the engine in any way where it doesn't have a lot of instruction and you don't know if you have the right parts, just don't do it. Don't do it. Like this is my only car, and I tried doing that, and I had a good feeling even beforehand when I started installing it. It started taking forever. Like this probably isn't going to work, but I may as well try since it kind of works. Um, either do a ton of research and try to do it the right way, or just spend the money to have it done correctly. Like, there's no other options, really, besides having your car blow up. So, I hope you guys enjoyed me being stupid, and we'll see you in the next video, which will likely be a pretty cool one, if I can do it right. So, yay.